For about 2 centuries, the Oxford Union has styled itself as the cradle of free speech, a place where ideas, however offensive or unpopular, could be aired, debated, defeated by the force of reason. But this autumn, that proud institution finds itself embroiled in one of the most damaging crises of its long history, the fall of George Abaraonye. George Abaraonye, the 20-year-old PPE student and Oxford Union's president-elect, was once a rising star in student politics. He was articulate, ambitious, and even managed to host debates with international figures, such as the late American conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Yet his downfall came from a moment of reckless immaturity, a message posted online that read chillingly, "Charlie Kirk got shot, let's F off." Another post followed, "Charlie Kirk got shot, LOL." It was grotesque and a juvenile reaction to an act of political violence, a reaction made all the worse by the fact that Abaraonye had looked Kirk in the eye only months before across the debating floor. Within hours, screenshots circulated, the outrage was immediate. Donors suspended more than £500,000 in funding. High-profile speakers cancelled their appearances. The world's most famous debating society, long proud of its alumni from Gladstone to Boris Johnson, was suddenly synonymous with scandal. And yet, the story didn't end with an apology. Abaraonye claimed he had reacted impulsively, that his words didn't reflect his values, and that he had deleted them once he learned Kirk had died. Instead of resigning, he attempted something rather Oxfordian, a procedural gambit dressed up as moral principle. He called for a vote of no confidence in himself, saying it was an act of true accountability. In truth, it looked suspiciously like an effort to control the narrative and preempt the inevitable. The vote that followed was pure chaos. Alumni were mobilised from around the globe to vote by proxy. Baroness Deach, Lord Moynihan, Viscount Hailsham, all were turned away from the Goodman Library because their decades-old membership records couldn't be verified. Dusty ledgers, missing archives, and disrupted ballot counts turned the exercise into farce. Allegations flew that email inboxes collecting proxy votes were accessed by partisan figures. The returning officer briefly suspended the count, claiming intimidation and an impossible working atmosphere. I learnt myself that my own membership of the Oxford Union no longer is recognised, although I paid for a life membership when I joined. Apparently now the way to pay is you pay £5 a year or something every year. I never signed up for that. But eventually, after 58 hours of procedural mayhem, the verdict has come. Of 1,746 votes officially cast, 1,228 were in favour of no confidence. George Abaraonye was out. His supporters cried racism, his detractors cried relief. The Union itself was left looking, as Roland Pelling wrote in The Telegraph, like an institution devouring its young. A place where student folly meets the merciless glare of the digital age, and yet Pelling's point is a fair one. Should any of us be judged forever by our worst student utterances? When she herself was a student, she made jokes about Margaret Thatcher as everyone's favourite dominatrix. The difference, she notes, is that her words were uttered in the smoky safety of pre-social media Oxford, not in an Instagram story visible to millions. And this is not simply about one foolish message, it's about the culture and credibility of the Union itself. As one insider has put it, how can you have a free speech society whose president celebrates the death of a free speech advocate? The Oxford Union today is more than an undergraduate club. It's a global brand, a tourist site of intellectual credibility and of intellectual celebrity. And yet it is run, as Pelling reminds us, by callow undergraduates, unformed, untested, pimply human beings who often learn the hard way that freedom of speech is not the same as freedom from consequences. Abaraonye's defence that he was standing up to cancel culture is unconvincing. The Oxford Union is not the far right. It's a private institution with every right to expect its elected officers to uphold its ethos. Free speech may protect your right to speak, but it doesn't guarantee your right to lead. And the damage is not theoretical. The Union now faces an existential financial crisis. with a projected shortfall of £400,000 and a crumbling Grade 2 listed building in need of millions in repairs. Its trustees are resigning, staff are leaving, and membership is collapsing. The debacle reveals not just the fragility of youth, but the fragility of an institution that has confused freedom with license and accountability with theatrics. It also raises a larger question: where is Oxford's leadership? William Hague, the new Chancellor, has been silent. As Pelling Riley noted, if King Charles can persuade his brother to do the right thing, surely Hague can persuade a PPE student to do the honourable thing. Ultimately, George Abaraonye's fall is not a parable about censorship. It's a lesson in responsibility. Freedom of speech, especially within institutions that champion it, must coexist with decency, proportion, and judgment. The right to speak freely is precious, but when speech betrays humanity, the speaker must expect to face the consequences. The Oxford Union may yet recover, but to do so it must remember that the defence of free speech begins not with provocation, but with moral seriousness, and that freedom to speak is only as meaningful as the wisdom with which that freedom is exercised.